Good evening, everybody. It's good to see all you folks here on a great evening. We got a couple of nice things we're going to do tonight, swearing in some officers and certificate of appreciation. If I see Mary, I don't see her, but we'll get to that. You ready, Jess? Okay, so we're going to call the meeting of April 25th, 2019 to order. Jesse, take the roll call, please.
Mayor Siciliano?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Long?
Here.
Councilmember Achara?
Here.
Shephika?
Here.
Everybody please rise for a pledge of allegiance and then please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer thereafter.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. The notice requirement for the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press, coaster posted in Town Hall, and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk on December 27th, 2018. There are two fire exits, one to the back of the room to my left, where the captain is back there. That'll take you out to the parking lot. And then one to my right here, which will also take you out to the front parking lot. If you have a phone, naturally you want to keep it on and take pictures. I get that, but just turn the volume down. If you need to make a call, kindly go out into the hallway. We tape and televise meetings here. We archive them. They're on YouTube, so you'll get to watch the ceremony later on, of course. But the phone, the volume, interferes with our service there. So tonight we're going to come down. We have a couple of swearing-ins to do, and we're going to call the chief up. Hey, Chief, what's going on, sir?
Push the button, hold it down for a minute. Push the button.
Give it to Rob. Test 1, 2. Oh, good. All right, we're here. All right. Good evening, everybody. So, very nice occasion here tonight. We love when this happens. We lost a few police officers to retirement, but we're always adding a few more here. So, and I always say this too about Ocean Township. It's one of the most desirable departments to get into. And these guys that go through the selection process, the chief, the captains, and even lieutenants, whoever else is involved, it's an arduous task. They get hundreds of applicants that want to come in. Very competitive field here. So they do a great job weeding them out, going through it. And to everybody that's applied and everybody gets selected here, congratulations, because it really is a statement to how good of a character you are and what a great candidate you are for this town. So tonight, Chief, why don't you tell us about your new recruits?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. As I always say in the life of police chief, there's not too many times that it's happy to be in this position, but tonight is one of them. We're fortunate enough to be swearing in 3 new officers tonight, each with their own unique history before they came to Ocean Township. Our first officer is Quinn Schallhofer. He is actually born and raised in Ocean Township. Until recently, though, he just moved to Long Branch, but that's okay. Quinn has a bachelor's degree from Rutgers. He started his law enforcement career with Long Branch Police Department as a special law enforcement officer 2 in the summer of 2018. And in September of 18, he came over to Ocean Township as a full-time special law enforcement officer. And then from there, he has now made his way as a full-time police officer. Our second new officer, is Cynthia Buckle. Cynthia is from Keyport. She originally started her law enforcement career with Manasquan as a special law enforcement officer. And very uniquely, while she was doing this, she also was successful in getting a career at the Monmouth County Jail in the Corrections Department, where she worked both as a special law enforcement officer and full-time as a corrections officer. So I have to give her a lot of credit for that. And January of this year, we hired Cynthia as a part-timer here while she was still working with Monmouth County Corrections. and she has since now become a full-time police officer with us, which I know she's very excited about. Now, uniquely, everybody here we assign badge numbers to. Now, you probably figured out that I probably have the lowest badge at this time, and I remember when this was a big deal to go from the 100 series to the 200 series. We've now gone to the 300 series, Quinn being 300, Cynthia being 301, and I am 201. So now you know 100 officers have been here since I started, and it's hard to believe. Our next new officer is Michael Jones. Michael is a resident of Bayville. He holds a bachelor's degree from Kane University. Michael has been with the Neptune Township Police Department as a special officer for the last couple years and is now with us. And with that being said, I'm very, very happy to have all 3 officers aboard. I'm looking forward to getting them out there on the street as soon as they finish all their training. And I know they're going to be good assets to the department and the community. So with that, I'm going to have Quinn come up to meet the mayor here to get sworn in. And Quinn's mom's going to hold the Bible. All right. And I will give this to you.
Quinn, you can stand right there. You're going to put your, you're going to raise your right hand for me, please.
Yes.
You can,
Mom, come right here.
Okay.
That's it. Mom, you hold the Bible.
okay.
And just flank it like that.
Okay. Raise your right hand, left hand on the Bible. And then you're going to repeat after me.
Yes, sir.
And we'll go so you get one mulligan and then that's it. Then the rest of you have to pay attention in the back because we're going to do, he gets the mulligan and that's it. Everybody plays their own tee shot here. All right. I state your name.
I, Quinn Schulhofer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the
of
Constitution
the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the
of
Constitution
the State of New Jersey.
of the State of New Jersey,
I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the position of police officer
of the position of police officer
for the Township of Ocean Police Department
for the Township of Ocean Police Department,
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Congratulations. Do you want, Quinn, you want to do some photos before we go into the next one there? Okay, will we have Cynthia? Okay, do we have somebody, Cynthia? Okay, all right. Pop's gonna hold it for you. Raise your right hand. Okay, she's been through this before. So you heard the drill, no mulligan for you. Okay, but we'll go slow. I state your name,
I, Cynthia Buckle,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution
that I will support the
of the
Constitution
United States
of the United States
and the State of New Jersey,
and the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of police officer
of police officer
for the Township of Ocean
for the Township of Ocean
Police Department
Police Department
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Congratulations.
I'm terrible at pictures. I'm terrible at taking. How about Steve? Steve Gallagher's good.
We have somebody, Mike, for the, oh, you pop, okay. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Oh, is that right? Oh, fantastic. Okay. You want to do the oath?
No, no.
We'll let Mike do it. All right, Michael, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Michael Jones,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United
and
States
the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey.
of the State of New Jersey.
I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the position of police officer
of the position of police
for
officer
the Township of Ocean Police Department
for the Township of Ocean Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Can we get one with all the recruits and the chief and the council? And then we'll do your- I knew the shot Don wanted, so.
Here, come on in.
Excuse me, could we get you in order, so like. from-
So he remembered?
Right, so like, hang on.
We got
Cynthia
perfect
first,
size order.
Cynthia, here.
We had size order.
Michael here.
Michael, you have to go here, Michael. Otherwise, Don's gonna get all you, you'll be Cynthia, he'll be Quinn. It's not gonna work, you understand. Oh my God, the paparazzi's going at it. They're going for that shot. One more for the good part. Okay, great, congratulations, everybody. Okay. We have, is Mary Johnson here tonight? No? We have some, we'll hold Mary's for the next time. Okay, we're going to take a short recess while you guys shoot more photos, and then we'll get into our regular agenda shortly thereafter. Thank you all for coming, great seeing you all. All right, everybody, we're back in session here. We're going to make a call to Councilmember John Napolitani. He's away but wants to be involved on the meeting, so we're going to get him on the phone first.
Hi.
Hey, John, we're here at the meeting. We have you on speaker. This is
Thank you. My apologies for not being there. I have to pick my mother up down in Florida.
no problem. Just don't let her be heard on TV 77. And we'll be okay. We have to edit it. We can't censor these meetings, as you know. Anyway, so tonight we have for adoption, we have our budget hearing and adoption. B1, authorize the municipal budget to be read by title in public hearing. Jesse,
Someone please, oh, sorry.
read the title.
Oh, I'm sorry. The local municipal budget of the Township of Ocean, County of Monmouth for the fiscal year 2019.
Okay, somebody please open the public hearing on the budget.
Move that we I move that we open to a public hearing on the budget.
I'll second it.
Deputy Mayor, Achara,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Naplatani,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. Okay. Public hearing. Anybody wishing to be heard on the budget, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing or hearing no one, someone please make a motion to close the public hearing on the budget.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing on our municipal budget.
Second?
Second.
Achara,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Naplatani,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. And action please on B1.
Move for the adoption of the 2019 municipal budget.
Second.
Achara,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Naplatani,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes, so the 2019 budget has been adopted with a 0 tax increase for the municipality. Thank you all for that. Okay, then we'll get into our regular business. The purpose of the public portion is to solely ask questions, understand resolutions that appear on agendas, not an occasion for a public hearing on an ordinance. All questions not related to an item on this agenda should be asked during the public comments portion at the conclusion of the meeting. Anybody have anything they wish to say about the consent agenda or resolutions that appear on the meeting? Come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing and hearing no one. Someone please offer the minutes and the resolutions.
I'll offer the minutes and the resolutions.
Second?
I'll second it.
Deputy Mayor Long,
Yes.
Councilmember Achara,
Yes.
Naplatani,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano?
Yes. For new individual action of resolutions 19-080, consideration of the following sealed bids. A, Bound Road Paving Project, Fernandez Construction, Inc. for $463,772.27. And B, Hope Road Improvement Program, Earl Asphalt, $322,313.13. A, of course, we had a grant of about $350,000.
Yes.
Right. And B, no.
That grant is, there's 2 grants, one for Ocean Township, one for Tinton Falls, and it's a combined grant for both towns.
Okay. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Long,
Yes.
Councilmember Achara,
Yes.
Naplatani,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano?
Yes, also for individual action 19-081, approve the private sale of a portion of Block 140, Lot 98 to Matthew and Christine Clark. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
I'll
Second.
second.
Deputy Mayor Long,
Yes.
Councilmember Achara,
Yes.
Naplatani,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano?
Yes, and also for adoption tonight, we have ordinance 2321. Jesse, would you read the title?
Ordinance 2321, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 12 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Ocean, 1965, entitled Traffic.
Okay, we have a change on there. You have one of.
Yes. We have a change on B2. The whole sentence should read, the release of any towed vehicle shall not be refused once related fees have been satisfied. The other change that we're making, the rest of that sentence we have deleted. And the second change is on C1. The C1 reads like this: it shall be unlawful to immobilize by use of any wheel lock device, boot, view obstruction device, barnacle, or other method or a vehicle which is parked on private property, whether for an authorized or unauthorized purpose, without the permission of the owner of the property, lessee of the property, or agent of the property, in writing as set forth in section 12-17A 2-3. We reworded that whole number 1 to make
Right, that
more
was the
sense
change.
and to make sure everybody understood exactly what we were going for.
Okay, so somebody please open a public hearing on ordinance 2321.
I will open the public hearing on ordinance 2321.
Second?
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Long,
Yes.
Councilman Achara,
Yes.
Naplatani,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano?
Yes, anybody wishing to be heard on ordinance 2321, please step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Okay. Are you coming up, Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, just pertaining to this.
Just-
I'm
Don't say your name and address for the record.
Okay, my name is Edward Vincent Killeen Frederick Sullivan. My
The
address is 721 Corley's Avenue, West Allenhurst. I think if you're restricting the use of the boot, that's a good thing, because the boot should get the boot in New Jersey.
Okay.
That's all. God
Thank you
bless,
for your
God
comment.
bless you for that, because those things are horrible.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Okay, anybody else? Seeing and hearing no one, someone please close the public hearing on ordinance 2321.
I move to close the public hearing on ordinance 2321.
Second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Long,
Yes.
Councilman Achara,
Yes.
Naplatani,
yes,
Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, action please on ordinance 2321.
I move to adopt ordinance 2321 and publish according to law.
Second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Long,
Yes.
Councilman Achara,
Yes.
Naplatani,
yes,
Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, Rob, you're in a hurry, but Pittsburgh doesn't have the first or second
No, we're
pick,
good.
do they?
We're good.
All right, so-
They're down on the list.
All right, relax. All right, for introduction tonight, we have ordinance 2322. Jesse, would you read the title, please?
Ordinance number 2322, an ordinance of the Township of Ocean in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, appropriating $550,000 from reimbursement payments expected to be received by the Township as assignee of the Deal Lake Commission from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for the construction of upgrades to the sluice gates located at the outfall of Deal Lake, consisting generally of electrification thereof.
So, anybody's been over by that gate over there that connects Asbury Park and Lock Harbor and the lake, it's lowered and raised. For years, it was by hand with a old wheel, which was arduous, took a long time. It was a screw cork type setup and mechanical system. And then later they got smart and they started using a electric drill bit that would move it a little bit quicker and help that auger go down so you can raise the gate. So we're leaping right into the 1990s here. We're going with an electronic gate system. So the attendee there can do it electronically from iPad, tablet, phone, any connection at all, at any time during a emergency situation to raise or lower the levels of the lake. So this is going to make the job a lot easier, a lot more efficient, a lot safer for everybody who's downstream or even upstream from there. So somebody please introduce ordinance 2322.
I introduce ordinance number 2322.
Second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Long,
Yes.
Councilmember Achara,
Yes.
Naplatani,
yes,
sorry, Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, and that'll have its public hearing on
May 9th.
the next council meeting, May 9th, I believe. Okay. Do you have something important?
Well, I wanted to say something about community hope, but I don't know.
Okay. All right. So before I open it up to the public for comments, because we had to swear in, we kind of went out of order here. I'm just going to ask the council members who wish to read in the report if they have anything. Do you have anything, Donna?
I just want to remind everybody that Clean Communities is on Sunday, the 27th, I think Sunday is, and it's from 11 to 1 over at the Oakhurst Meeting Room.
Okay. Rich?
Okay, so as I've been announcing to the public, so that we get as many respondents, as many applicants as we can, I am pleased to announce that our nonprofit, the Community Hope Fund, is once again offering grants to local organizations that promote positive youth development. The application form is available at the Township's Department of Human Services on Deal Road, or the application can be downloaded from the Community Hope Fund website. The applications are due by this coming May 31st.
2 miles, John.
That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Rich.
Sure. I'm good, Mayor.
Mike?
I have nothing tonight.
Marty? Everybody wants to get to the draft. Look at this.
I have nothing.
I just want to say one thing. John, do you have anything for us, John?
no, I just want to remind people of the Mayor's Ball, May 4th, that's not this weekend, next weekend at the Old Country Club. We still have tickets, seats left, and they're obviously going fast. And I think the ordinance to do the sluice gate and the improvements to Deal Lake, so I sat on Deal Lake Commission for 8 years. That's a great
All right, John. I just have two quick things. We have our ERI report that we've been working on. That's an environmental resource inventory, and that's been by our environmental commissioners and Mike Davenport specifically. But that'll be ready for review at the manager's office May 6th, and then also you'll be able to have comment on it thereafter. So very important document. It's going to help move us forward in the future as a more of a green environment here in Ocean Township. Should read it. Very good document. Mike worked very hard on it, and it also helps us towards our points on sustainability. Also, I want to give a shout out to TOSA. That's our Township of Ocean Sewage Authority. I got a call the other night from Mayor John Moore of Asbury Park. It was about 9 o'clock at night, and they had a busted pipe on the corner of Main and Memorial Drive. They weren't sure what it was. They needed the services of our, our truck the camera that shoots the pictures to see just what the pipe was, where it was at, and all that. So I was able to get in touch with Dennis Galvin, or TOSA commissioner over there, and said, we're in a pinch, can you help out? And within a half hour, they were out on the scene, helping out, helped Asbury identify which pipe it was. It was both sewer and a drainage, storm drain, so it had a double bubble there, but at least they're able to ameliorate it, find out what the problem was, and get to it. So big shout out to you guys. Thank you, TOSA. Thank you, Dennis, and you're welcome, Mayor Moore. Okay. With that, if anybody from the public has anything germane to Ocean Township business or any compliments you wish to pay to us, please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. Jerry Maurer, 11 Wanamassa Point Road. Just to clarify, is this opening up for 23-22?
No comment on that. That's just been introduced, Jer. It'll have a public hearing at the next meeting.
Okay, so I can add comments now?
No, at the public hearing.
It's public hearings. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is general?
This is just an introduction. We didn't open a public hearing on this.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. But you can comment on anything
You can come up
else.
and talk about anything
No, that's
you
why I
want.
was saying, it's the general comments, right?
Yeah,
So I can
general
talk
comments.
about-
I thought you just wanted to comment on that ordinance.
Well, that and a couple other things. First of all, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if this is NFL or hockey that I'm standing in
NFL.
front of, but I will go quickly.
Take your time.
8 o'clock, then start to leave.
A couple things. And I haven't been here in a while, but the marijuana legislation which passed, I think, is great. I think it was long overdue, and I'm glad the township took the steps to do that. I was going through my notes though, and back
We didn't pass a marijuana legislation.
dispensary.
We didn't pass that.
Sure we did.
You mean prohibiting?
Prohibited.
Yes.
Oh, that okay. I thought you meant pass. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
What you did, I agree with,
Okay.
and I think that was a good move.
Sure.
Trying to give you a compliment.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Going through my notes, so I noticed back.
Just get a little closer to the mic though, because the television doesn't pick you up.
There you go.
Yep. Better.
Yep.
Going through my notes, I noticed there was also, back at the time you were talking about it, you were talking about legislation around adult-themed businesses and that prohibiting that or restricting or something in Ocean Township. Is that still on the table? Is that still being discussed? Is that?
We had that was from about a year and a half ago since you've been here, right?
Not that long.
That was quite a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time.
More like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
More like 3 years ago.
Really, I mean, rather the history, but is there still an interest to address that on a practical
Oh yeah,
basis?
there's an interest to address it again legally how we do it. Something Marty's still.
It's a real difficult issue, and sometimes you can cause more of a problem trying to address it than not. But I can talk to you about it, but it's a difficult issue because.
So just to set expectations, something like that happen in the next 3 months, 6 months, year?
I guess if council gives me the direction to do that, that'll be what'll happen. But in the past, I think we got through the issue we had. We felt we were in relatively good shape with what we have in there, but we can certainly discuss it again.
Yeah, and it's something that might be reviewed again probably after the summer, and see where we're at with it and see if we're still vulnerable.
Okay, great, thanks. I thought somewhat appropriate with my next comment, seeing the police officers being sworn in, that's great. It seems like more troubling news though in the township of late as far as crime and safety.
They were isolated incidents, I'll say that. The two most recent are just bizarre but isolated that those two things happen.
Yeah, and I do get the Nixle reports in a pretty constant stream though it seems of issues drugs, prostitution, a lot of
That's because you
activity
get nixel.
of that sorts on 35. Yeah.
In other words, I think a lot of these issues existed for years, but we didn't have nixel. So you had no idea what these guys went through on a daily basis. And I say it about the fire departments too. They don't nixel out, but you know, when I go to their dinners and I hear somebody went on 331 calls, like, wow, really? That's like one a day. You never think of it like that, but it's
Right.
out there. And same with the police officers. If you look at the calls they go on when we go to their dinners, stuff we didn't even know about. Like, holy smokes! But
Well, that's really my point. My question around this is does the township track metrics and
Oh, yeah.
statistics around this?
absolutely, yeah.
Do
And
you release those to the public?
I don't know that we.
I get monthly reports
Yeah, I know
that,
we get
that
them.
are allowed to be released, absolutely.
And certainly not looking for you to release anything that would compromise Ocean Township's strategy or anything around
But
that.
it mentions arrests and what the arrests were for and that type of
And is it location specific as well?
No, I don't believe it puts locations. It tells you the numbers.
Monthly,
in
just
case
a
there's
monthly.
ongoing investigations.
Mhm.
Certain things, yeah.
Sure, but wouldn't that be pertinent maybe for once the cases are closed to provide that? You know, we're in the age of artificial intelligence, you know, just the mass data that's out there, and it seems like there's a lot of information and perhaps trends that could be understood, which would lead the township to take some actions to address crime.
Yeah, I think of what you're getting at. If the chief monitors all the incidents monthly, to see where they are, and then at the end of the year, probably cumulatively as well. And if he sees it's heavy in one area, naturally that patrol is going to be beefed up. So it doesn't really let much get by him over there. So,
Sure, but wouldn't it make sense at some point to share that with the public?
Yeah, we can do that.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I could put it on the website.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay.
And again, not trying to pry and compromise any gains that are being made, but I think it'd be good to understand and really quantify. We hear things, we speculate, we guess, but this really lets quantify it. On ordinance 2322, can I get a bit of background though about why this has wound up at Ocean Township to participate in the financing?
Sure, because we're probably the biggest agency involved. We have 40% of the lake, as you know, and probably the most stable to be able to do the bond for them. And then we have a reimbursement program, of course. We wouldn't do it without.
Yeah,
being
this has been a
reimbursed.
long time coming, and basically, I didn't know if we were 40% or 50%, but we are certainly the majority in terms of frontage on the lake. And they came to us because, well, for whatever reason, they came to us. The idea is we get reimbursed through the DEP, so we will be reimbursed. Everybody gets assigned over, and what held us up a bit is we wanted some protection in case, for whatever reason, something happened and we didn't get reimbursed, so that all the other municipalities would then pay their fair share. So we had a provision added regarding that, and like all the members of the Deal Lake Commission signed off on it.
And the Deal Lake Commission can't bond.
They're not allowed to bond, right? They don't have the bonding ability, so we had the ability to raise the funds, so they came to us.
So was this the plan all along that for this project that Ocean Township would be financing, have participate in the financing?
Probably been about
5
18
years.
months,
No,
5 years.
No, it's been a while since he's been getting estimates on the.
Yeah, it's been a long process.
Since we've been getting the estimates on the sluice gate, we've been on board with assistant. We were hoping all the other towns would jump in as well, but we became the bonding agent, if you will. So
Right, but I know they're getting estimates. We heard that this past Thursday,
Yeah,
which was great. But the question is, initially when this project got started, they were expecting to come to Ocean Township to provide funding?
Yeah, I think they were hoping for another source. If not, they asked us as a backup. And you know, of course, we're going to do what we can.
Why did the other source? Is that
I
not
think
enough?
initially it's when they found out they couldn't. Initially, they were going to try to
Bond
get the
and get
funds or borrow a
reimbursed.
bond. They don't have the ability to borrow or bond, so they had to come to Ocean Township in essence, ask Ocean to do it, because we were the biggest contributor and the one that would do that with the understanding we get reimbursed from the DEP, and if there is ever any problem, that then the other communities have to pay their share.
Okay. Is there a precedence for Ocean Township doing this?
I don't know if there's been any other project like this.
Not with them, but with other projects we bonded and bought. Did a senior housing development for $7.5 million about 8 years ago, and then got reimbursed from the managing partners who bought it over.
Okay. And
We did
what-
that to save a senior development from going full market value. You know, their 20 years had expired and they're ready to go full market rate. So we wanted to save the 96 units there. We did that.
Great cause. Wonderful.
And I think this is a good cause too.
Yeah. What is the risk, though, on this to Ocean Township?
Well, Marty looked at it pretty good.
Frankly, we went back and forth, and it's been a long process because of that. The risk is very minimal, I am told, but that's why I was concerned. I don't care how minimal the risk is. If something bad happens, I just wanted to make sure the other communities were going to participate, so that, you know, we would be responsible regardless for our percentage anyway. So if all the municipalities participate, we would have to pay our 40, 50, whatever the number is, percent. But we want to make sure the other communities would reimburse us for their share. So that's hopefully what's going to happen.
So when you say you've been told the risks are minimal,
I've been told by the DEP, basically everything is in place to do this, to put it in, and for the reimbursement.
okay.
That's what we're told.
He's got the reassurance he needed from the DEP and from the financing agent of that, saying, yes, when this is completed
This is going to happen.
and they do their checklist, we will get reimbursed.
Okay. Hey, has the township reviewed the project plan, or even at a very high level,
Yeah, well, they haven't-
abstract, or
The concept is that we haven't got the project plan completed yet. We haven't seen a completed plan, but the idea is to have an automated gate, naturally, to make things better for folks who live along the lake and easier for the operator as well, and for a quicker and more efficient response time. All in all, that's a great plan. The mechanics of it are, you know, we haven't seen a architectural rendering. I mean, I've seen pictures, I shouldn't say, but the exact plan, no, that'll come now. I guess they're bidding it out, right? Once they have the bid, we'll see it all.
but wouldn't you consider looking at that prior to?
Well, I know what it is, Jerry. I'm not gonna have to look at it to see which way a screw turns. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I understand that it's going to be beneficial to people that live on the lake, and that's our concern, or as the residents of Ocean, and then the other lake members also will enjoy the benefits of that. And I think it's beneficial to have something that's can operate like that rather than sit there and crank it by hand. So
there-
to me, that's a great plan.
Is there an issue?
Sure. Well, the question is, this project's been on the Deal Lake Commission master plan for about 10 years.
Yeah, a long time.
Just a one-liner and $60,000. And what you described was what the general understanding was. Never got anything formal from the commission, but a few comments that led us to believe, understand the operation of the gates up and down. We can do it more efficiently, remotely, safer, etc. So that was the understanding. At the last, but again, that was a $60,000 number that's always been presented. Now the number, if I understand correctly, is $550,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the number has always been, for instance, my
From what we
involvement,
heard, right.
which is 4 or 5 years, has always been in that neighborhood of $500,000. I don't remember the exact number, but it's always been in that neighborhood.
Yeah, so it's been on the Deal Lake Commission plan for about 10 years,
Yeah.
$60,000.
I thought so.
Electrifying the flume. But we heard last Thursday a lot of other things that are into it. Blocking ingress from the ocean through the flume pipe during high tide situations.
Was that I was there? Was that part of this plan, or was that? And I thought
An operational function. It can happen.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure, but I thought it was, to the mayor's point, that it could happen, that it wasn't part of this 550,000. I could be wrong.
So, well, again, this is really reinforcing my point. Is I really am looking at Ocean Township not as just a typical bank or financing intermediate, because my view is this is less than an arm's length transaction for Ocean Township, and it's not only the financing aspect of it, but what is in the project. And I'm very, very concerned that May 9th you're gonna possibly act on it. And I've been asking Mr. Brockle for ever since I started hearing about this 18 months ago. Please publish the information on your website, share, and we want to know, we want to learn. And
Here's the thing. Let me reassure
hang
you.
on, if I can,
Yeah,
Mr.
go
Mayor. And so I think Ocean Township has a responsibility to look at the plan. We're not even sure what's in it and what isn't, and you're talking about being 10 days away from approving it.
So just so you know how this works, we're authorizing the appropriation of that amount of money. It's not going anywhere yet until the plans are bid out, seen, drawn up. We do ordinances all the time, and sometimes we pull them back if we're not going to use the money, or maybe we're going in a different direction. So we're not May 9th. We're not giving them a check for $550.
Fully
Our
understand that. I
finance
appreciate
our finance officer will have that in the bank, ready for when we see an acceptable plan, if you will. That'll work and it's operational, and it comes within everything that we were told. And so we feel safe by doing this. We're taking it from here. We're putting it over there right now. Probably won't even pay on this bond until it gets wrapped up into more permanent financing next year. So right now it's no exposure except for we know we have it parked in case we need it. So we'll see the plans, Jeremy. When we get them, I'm sure you'll review them, and the Lake Commission and everybody concerned will probably have comment. I'm sure they'll have a public hearing on their plans, I'm sure.
Will they?
I don't know. I'm sure they will do something, but we'll at least be able to see them. Our engineers will see them, and we'll be comfortable going ahead to the next step, which will be releasing the funds to have the project started. So
Well,
for now, we're just appropriating the money.
The work's commenced. They're spending money on it now. So I don't know how far that horse is out of the barn.
Like I said, we're not
it's in the works.
authorizing any checks yet until we get something from them, and then at that time it'll be reviewed by our engineers. And I think one of our engineers also is involved in the lake, the Avakian group.
Peter Avakian.
Yeah, so I mean he has a good handle. He's not gonna. We trust him, just like we trust our attorney who's giving us good advice, and we're gonna go with that.
Well, and I appreciate that, but also on the commission is Dr. Steve Souza, 30, I think now almost over 30 years, Princeton Hydro, very
learned man,
respected firm. But Dr. Souza spoke to the New Jersey Coalition of Lakes in 2016 and presented what the current good practices are for stormwater management. And if you look at this project, it's contrary to all of his principles. Dr. Souza says the old school is to address stormwater management with an end of pipe solution, for instance. It's one of his points. And what that means is wait until it gets to where it's going to flow out, and then you deal with it. And that's what I understand. Again, I wish I could speak intelligently and tell you what is in the plan and what isn't, because Mr. Bachel refuses to release it. And I'm glad Jesse's here tonight. I communicated with Jesse
Should be on
today.
their website, right?
The whole grant is on our website.
Yeah, so I had communicated with Jesse today. I very much appreciate your very quick response on the Oprah forms. That's fantastic. So we'll file those. But the couple things I want to leave the council with is Dr. Souza says this is not what you should be doing. This is old school to address it at the outflow where it goes to the ocean. You don't have any opportunity to do any water treatment of it, any cleansing of pollutants, any taking out any of the debris that working upstream would do. And Dr. Souza says many times, and I'll certainly send this presentation to you. I think it's very relevant. But he says you can't address the symptom. You need to go to the source of the problem. And the symptom is the water level and all the water that rushes into Deal Lake and causes those in the low-lying areas to either have property flooding or elevate wet basements, dark basements, etc. And so Dr. Souza is saying address the problem upstream, which in the Deal Lake watershed area means go west of Wickapeco. Go to where those basins are. And
MTDs or something like that?
Well, the basins are a great example. There are probably 5 basins in that area, whether they're artificial or natural, but they should be collecting this water. They should be slowing it down before that rush into the main body of the water. And they're not. They're impaired. We've heard over the 5 big basins, over 90% are impaired. And this isn't a sediment removal, it's just the organic accumulation. And so that water over the increasingly impervious area of Ocean Township and others, Neptune, Interlake, and etc., that water, there's less opportunity for the water to get into the ground. It's running downstream.
Doesn't perk out.
Exactly. It's hitting these basins. The basins don't have any room to contain it to begin with, and so it hits the main body.
But don't you think, asunder from that, going to the gate, the function I'm thinking of the gate was not to remove sediment or control it that way, was really to make it more efficient for the operator of that gate, lowering and just adjusting the level. I think what you're talking about also, I love the idea of keeping the basins clean and making them function properly And I mentioned years ago about doing MTDs around areas and the storm drains and whatnot. Maybe that would help filter all that out. Then you're pouring clean water in, and then you can really. I think dredging's a waste of money because you're going to keep dredging, unless you have clean water going in there. You could dredge once, clean water spilling in, and now you should be good to go. But I don't know that. I'm not an engineer, and I know you have some engineering background though. That the two tie in that way. I don't think he's looking at this sluice gate as a cure for any turbid water that comes into the lake or anything like that, or sediment, etc.
Well, again, I appreciate you're not an engineer, but I'm not looking for engineer level information at this point. Again, just a high level. What's in it? Is the restriction from the tide water coming in? Is that in it? Is that out? And again,
Yeah, the pipe you're talking about, we'll have to get him to clear that up for us.
Yeah. So could that request go out sooner rather than later, and make it available to the public?
Yeah, sure.
I'll email you a copy of the.
Yeah,
It should be on our website.
Well, the 319
Not
is.
the 319, the other one that we got for the 500.
You need to speak in
Is it on the website?
It should be on our website.
I looked today, and I
If it's
couldn't
not
look
on
in
there,
it. It's
I'll
not.
make sure.
She'll get it up there for you.
Okay,
But
get it
good
up there.
good questions, and absolutely should be available.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, Jack. Thank you. Always good to hear from you. All right, thank you all for coming. Oh, anybody else? Oh, young lady, state your name and address for the record.
Jackie Wenzel, 610 Dale Road. Just picking up on the water conversation from Jerry. Since we're talking to the DEP on a couple of these issues, are we speaking to them at all about our flooding situation in neighborhoods? I mean, has there been any conversation about that? Because as I've been going around talking to people, obviously in the campaign process, water comes up all the time.
Yeah.
Have we been having meetings with them, or?
We have them involved in some projects, and as of recently, probably the last meeting in our workshop, we discussed that we do need to start putting some controlled devices behind the curb and between the sidewalk for the inlets that are on the street in the areas that flood the most. Here's the thing, I remember the town for a long time. I'll tell you right now, some of the areas we call Hog Swamp and Deal Beach Estates, etc., are in wetlands or a very low area or in like swampy area. Homes
What
would never
neighborhoods are those? I'm
They
not
would
familiar.
never be built there today, but they were built, and consequently now they have water problems under heavy rains and all that. So
What neighborhoods are they? I don't recognize the names you say.
Hog Swamp and Deal Beach Estates and things like that. So Hog Swamp would be anything off of Logan Road there that goes between Logan and the 35 and the Little League Field
Okay.
and to Allaire,
Okay.
or even Allenhurst Avenue, if you will. And then the Deal Beach Estates are on the other side of the 32 acres, and that would be that
By
section.
Oakhurst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oakhurst, so that area there. And so, as you can imagine, there's a lot of low areas there. So, at any rate, that being said, Mr. Musillo and our engineer now are going to allocate money each year to try to put some kind of devices in there so we can capture some of the water, so we're not having the flooding in the bad areas.
So where would we put where would it capture? You're saying between the curb and the street?
In some areas, if you have a curb and a sidewalk, we can put a inlet there, and it would capture a lot of the water folks are pumping out of their basements, for instance,
Right.
or even coming off the gutter and things like that.
Or even in Wanamassa now, they're saying.
There's listen, I
Yeah.
lived here long. I can identify all the areas,
Okay.
really. I can tell you where you probably have to take a 12-inch pipe and make it a 24 or so,
So
A lot
are
of
we
that
doing
probably
that
happened,
now?
too.
I mean, just because there's so much conversation about it, and there's predictions of more and more rain.
Yeah.
I mean, even this week, it's like every day's been raining.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're trying to play catch up instead of getting ahead of it. 50 years ago, we probably should have got ahead of it, but I was only 10 then. So
Well, just in front of my house,
Rich was old enough to do something about it, and he didn't.
I have a steady stream of water.
What, Jackie?
I have a steady stream of water now coming out of my street. That was never there before, and it's cracked Deal Road. We spoke about it before. The engineer had come out, and someone from DEP. They said the water, I had thought the water was coming from the wetlands right across the street from us. But they said they think it's coming from behind. But what I'm noticing now, just as of the last couple weeks, it has this
Iron in it?
sediment in it. Yeah, the curb line is turned all orange.
Yeah, that's iron.
So I don't know. Is it iron or because I know I just went to a meeting in Interlaken and they were saying the silt is in a couple of the lakes That's what I'm just kind of curious. I'm trying to track where this
Jim
water's
would know. The
coming
guy in the
from.
back is a smart guy. He could tell you exactly, I'm sure. But Mr. Bay, I'm serious.
No, because I'm trying to track where it's coming from. They were saying it's coming from behind me, which would be the golf
house
course.
Well, the house behind you, maybe.
But my yard isn't wet at all. So I don't understand if they're saying it's coming from behind us. Why wouldn't the soil in my yard be wet? Like the soil, the yards on where you're calling the swampland over on Oakhurst, right on the north side of 32 acres. They're telling me their lawn in their yard is just soppy wet all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have that problem. That's why I still think it might be coming from across Deal Road.
No, your elevation is higher than across Deal Road. I don't see how that's possible.
Well, up at my house level it is, and my yard isn't wet, but they're saying it's coming from Dwight Drive down and coming into my curb line that way.
That's possible.
So what I wanted to ask now, though, the road is cracking. I know that Deal Road east of 35 is not scheduled for repaving for some time. They're going to first address west. However, what's happening now is the road is sinking in front of my house, and it's continuously getting worse. So now when I get up on my curb, there's it's hitting the bottom of my car. So what do I do there? I mean, can they just at least repair in front of Deal? Because it's hard to get up into my. Yeah. I don't go really fast because I'm always afraid of often there are deer in my driveway, so I don't zip right in. So I go a little bit slower, and I'm always having this kind of clumsy entrance.
Deer repellent. Spray it on, you got to get the deer repellent and spray it on your.
Yeah, I tried that years ago.
But we can have our engineer can come look at it and see if maybe some regrading there or something. I don't know.
I think the road has to come closer to my entrance of my driveway, because now it's creating a curb line, and it's getting harder and harder just to have a smooth entrance.
Okay.
So I just should take that up with the engineer on my own. This will do. Okay. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to just kind of go into is that. I'm really happy to see everybody's, I've been looking at the League of Women's Voters and looking at all the campaign videos that are online, and I think it's terrific. Everybody's talking about open space, about preservation, about all the issues that we've been bringing up for, 2 years. And everyone's happy about that. We're glad that everybody's on board. So my question is, and I speak for the community because it's also come up because we're all looking at the same videos. Why, with everybody on the same page about open space, why did every one of you vote for Ordinance 2303, which has given the developer who's interested in 32 acres?
I didn't vote for it.
You didn't approve 2303? All right, you recused yourself. But why did everybody rush that through, since the community is very interested?
That was rushed. From 2005 to 2019 is hardly a rush. But you know what? On Ordinance 2303, we're going to defer to our attorney because it's a pending lawsuit that's going on now. You understand it?
No, I understand.
I mentioned that to you a number of times.
No, but we're not talking about the law. We're talking right now about the approving of that, since every person is.
You filed a lawsuit
it's tied in,
challenging the approval of the ordinance. So I think we should leave that for the courts at this point. And the motivation to do it, everybody wants open space.
Yes.
Everybody wants lower taxes. And sometimes there's a balancing act that you have to go through. So just understand that. But in terms of getting into detail about why they passed the ordinance that is now the subject of your appeal, I don't think we're going to discuss that here. Okay?
Well, it's just people are. What do I answer them? And what do I say?
You answer them whatever you want, but the
bottom line. What do you want to say? They watch.
You have filed a lawsuit challenging the ordinance, and we're going to litigate that issue.
It was custom made for the developer, which makes it very difficult today when we go to the planning board to challenge some of these plans.
We're not going to discuss the ordinance and the amendment to the ordinance that's now the subject of your litigation.
Okay, so can we talk about traffic?
You can talk about whatever you want. I'm just not going to respond to certain things.
So my other question to you, Mayor, is I really think it would be important. I know you've have stayed away from the planning board meetings because you've heard these plans over and over, and then you've given that as your reason. But again, as a community, and a lot of people are getting to know you better. With every election, we get to know you better because we hear about the great things you did, and I, like I say, I applaud you for protecting the golf course, the Deal Golf Course, and you have done a lot of great things, and I think that you're really good for your job. I think you do a
thank
good
you.
job. No, I do.
I think that's an
I think you have a
Meeting
nice.
adjourned.
I think you have a charming personality. I think you are, suited for the role you play. So
I have
I
a
think.
position in my cabinet for you, Jackie.
Well, you should. I really am surprised you didn't ask me to join your group because I've been so involved. So anyway, I guess what I wanted to say is your presence at the planning board meetings, because the traffic right now, the traffic study is very scary. We all use the roads. The volume of traffic is not what really concerns me as much. I'm used to Deal Road traffic. I live on Deal Road. But the type of movement right now of the traffic, the coming out of that jug handle, the people trying to get into the site, is going to be like zigzagging cars. Someone like myself speeding up to get into the middle lane to head north. Someone who's on the north side trying to get over to the site. It's just very confusing, and they have an expert, but the plans don't seem like they're very smart right now. So for our safety, I think it would be nice for you to just listen, be a part there, maybe ask questions that could be that are concerning all of us. But it's hard when we ask questions because sometimes there's a little bit of aggression of like, you can't ask that, or there's a little bit of, the lack of a better word, let's say bullying. And I think it would just mean a lot to all of us to have you there as these things are being presented and have your point of view on it.
Here's the thing.
Let me just interrupt you, because frankly, I think that's not a good idea. Typically, to have the mayor actually has a seat on the planning board, and a lot of towns, and Chris has done that, and in Long Branch they have done that. The mayor, instead of sitting on the planning board, has a designee that sits on the planning board. So there's someone who's the mayor's designee on the planning board.
Pete Ciano, and he grew up in town with me, knows the town very well, and graduate of Ocean High School in 1977. And Pete's acutely aware of Deal Road movement, traffic, and I think he's brought it up a number of times. He should have from the planning board, but
yeah, and the planning board is the board that's going to deal with these issues as to how to best direct the traffic. But the bottom line, these mayors in a lot of these towns do not want to appear before the planning board or go before the planning board, because then it becomes more political and how everybody wants to maybe do what the mayor says, and that's not what the rule and the way it should work. It should work that the planning board, the members, the professionals make determinations, and that's the way it should be.
Well, the planning board's appointed by the mayor, so that's obvious.
Okay.
So what's the difference if he's in the room?
First of all, it's appointed through the mayor and council, I believe. But the bottom line is that they're appointed. Once they're there, they're listening to the testimony. There's no real need, and probably be counterproductive to have the mayor there, and may cause further problems legally to have the mayor there. But I'm not going to get into all the legal issues.
Well, Mayor Larkin had attended when the last time when we had traffic experts.
No, he didn't sit at.
He didn't sit on the board.
No, he didn't sit on the board, but he attended. He was just there in terms of our leader.
I could do that. And I think you understand, before an application like that even comes to planning board, before you even let them bring it to planning board, and I think I brought 7 boards up here at one time from, for the last 3 or 4 years, went through 7 iterations. He would show them, here's the plan I was thinking of bringing to planning board, Mayor, what do you think? I said, no way, you crazy? First of all, you shouldn't be building anything on that site, but, nonetheless, that's nuts. 300 apartments and 150,000 square feet of retail. Back to the drawing board, comes back. So I feel like I pared it down to something small enough to say, now bring it to the planning board, and you're on your own at the planning board. It's up to them to determine whether your plan's good or going to work at all anyway. I can come in here and reiterate to them the same thing that I've done before the meeting even started, or I could ask them the same questions. But I feel I talk to Pete Ciano all the time. He's my designee. And like I said, I trust Pete.
He asks good questions.
And he asks good questions. And he like me, he rode his bike up and down Deer Road when you could.
Mm-hmm.
So he understands. And he questioned the circulation and all that. And I said, Pete, it goes to DOT, which it did. They went to DOT a few weeks ago after one of their meetings, in between the last 2 meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And DOT pretty much draws the plan for them. Said, here's what we would like. Here's what we think would work. And that's how Excuse me. And
They
that's what
wrote that. What
this
exists today?
Last
the
iteration, the one where what they call urban jug handle,
hmm
that was DOT's recommendation.
Well, that part,
But just to correct one thing, the mayor, Bill Larkin, may have come to the hearings when they were in the auditorium,
Yes.
and there were in the beginning 800 people.
They
Never
came-
once asked a question. Never once made a comment. So
No, but he was there with the people. It just seemed like he was, he's concerned. I just feel like there's a lot of safety issues right now, besides the ones we've brought up so many times about the, and now they added a bank. So this is new to the plan. So it's all of the traffic study doesn't include what type of traffic is going to come and go for the bank. So they kind of have to redo that as well. And they also did, they just did a fast food study. But apparently Chick-fil-A is a very unique business. It has, you can Google it. They have traffic cops in certain communities that have to come out during peak hours and run the traffic. So they should also do the traffic study again, really using that as a unique study.
Probably so. I know at the bank, but he at one time from this plan several months ago had two buildings, maybe 12,000 each. He eliminated one of the buildings, one of the 12,000 square foot buildings, and added a 3,000 square foot bank. So we're still plus.
There's another building that came off the plan from that?
Yep.
They didn't highlight
Yeah, remember
that.
there was a building and they wanted that space between them, make a little open space there, and took the building out. So when you see it again, you'll see that he eliminated that building.
Okay. All right. I think I covered everything for tonight.
All right, Jackie, good stuff.
Thank
Good
you.
questions as always. Anybody else? Mr. Sullivan, come on up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Did the Jets go, Mike?
Mayor and Council, I'm Edward Vincent Colleen Frederick Sullivan, also known as Ed. I live 721 Corliss Avenue, West Allenhurst. The part in the Deal Lake thing, that's all well and good. Just from my experience with electronic things, I'm sure the engineers will know this, but have a mechanical backup, because touchpads go south, and so do things like oxygen sensors in cars. Just as a simple motorhead, I'd say that. That's just a comment on that. I think it's good. If the water gets too high, you got to lower it.
Right.
That's
a good point. I'm sure that's in there, right, Jack? Yeah. Okay.
A mechanical backup is a
Glad you
really
brought it up.
good idea, because computers can let you down.
Yeah.
But the other is concerning us. My friends who live with me. To solve. Our court was postponed till next week. I have 5 tickets for occupancy, basically, and the prosecutor has actually been, genuinely nice, and said, I want to address what is considered overcrowding. The best thing I can do is to put an addition on our home to basically comply with the uniform standards of occupancy. We are trying to comply. Even, Judge Timothy McGochran did ride by our house and said it looks better.
It does.
And I have a friend named Joanne who has kind of taste. I'm not exactly the most avant-garde person as far as anticipating how things look. And, a friend of mine has said power wash this and get it looking, right from the street, curb appeal. And we try to have people appeal. Everybody that I have the privilege of living with, we do say hello to people. And even if someone's grumpy, we say have a nice day. I mean,
Hey, does somebody have a little white terrier in your house that walks a dog?
Yes, Paula does.
That's a cute little dog. I see it up and down Corliss.
Oh yeah, it's a great dog.
Yeah.
She's kind of blind now, but she'd hop in the back seat of a Chevy like a cat.
Yeah, I see. Just
Definitely friendly. We have little friendly dogs now. But I'm very fortunate. Kate Maloney has been helpful to me in the setback, requirements to make them right, because we want to just build an addition, towards the back of the yard. And she's saying it was 30 feet from the back, but she said under the Open Records Act to basically find out what the setbacks are, and I like to submit a plan that's kosher.
Sure.
As far as the setbacks and ordinances and everything like that. We'd ask for a little grace while it's being built, because that's what we intend to do. A holy woman named Teresa said that if we fix the problems, the town will leave us alone. And that we really are trying,
Good.
So I'm very fortunate. The one ticket is based on yards. We're trying to improve that. The occupancy, the addition will take care of. And it's just a matter of, we ask you to please work with us while we're trying to solve the problem. I know there's an ordinance, like if your house burns down, you can put a trailer there for 6 months.
Yeah, you get like 60 days, and then you can
Well, it's
renew
actually
it.
6 months.
6
But
months.
we're not trying to buy time. We're trying to fix the problem.
Right.
But it's going to take, we have to basically find the setbacks. And I have a friend who's good at drawing, with an architectural degree, and we got to submit the plans and build it. And, shake a few leaves to the financing, but I can do that. But at this point, it's really a matter of trust, I just hope, trust, and pray you'll work with us.
I say what you do is when you go to your hearing, mention that to the prosecutor, of course, and the judge,
Right.
what your plans are, and then we can always discuss once you have plans in, and we see how long it's going to be and what the timeline is. Then maybe we can discuss further how to handle it from there. But we have to see them when you bring them in.
See, we're not involved. This council does not get involved in the court proceeding.
Oh, I
And
understand
the
that.
judge and the prosecutor are going to handle that, and so they'll deal with it. In terms of what happens after that point, we'll see. In terms of what the proposal is and what you're looking to do, and we'll see what happens after.
Appreciate your cooperation, because Tom Gironda, as the housing inspector, did issue 4 of the tickets, and they are town employees. David Spera, who's the code enforcement, issued the ticket for the yard. And we're trying, you see by the yard, we're really trying to address this. We're not belligerent. I believe if we all work together, we'll get somewhere. And I don't really want to fight. We want to live and let live. I mean, there's only one neighbor that really doesn't, like us just because we're happy. And I'm not going to mention his name, because class is the ability to be polite when others are not. I refuse to get stuffed in a cesspool because of someone else's misery. We're basically happy campers. We wish our neighbors well. Even the people that don't like us, so hopefully we'll help them someday. We're not basically, I can't say that I'm, living saint, but we're average. We try to get along and be decent with everybody. And a lot to be said for live and let live. And if you can rise the tide, I know water's a thing, but if you can raise the tide for everybody, I believe that's what we should do. But, it's not, while I recognize the court is independent, and it is, at the same time, the tickets come from township employees, and we are residents of this town, and, a little bit of grace and cooperation would help us out. We are trying to fix the problem, and I have some good friends that are helping me. I have people that are praying for me, and I don't want to fight, but, the right to live is kind of important. That's all I have to say, and I wish you well in the election and everything, and the 3 new officers, the best, they're protecting us, and, we're not the enemy here.
No.
We're really not, I'm advocating for people more than trees and water, but, still, we wish. The icky side wants people fighting for crumbs. Good people want to make it better for everybody. And can we say we're good? We're decent. Just leave it that way.
Great. Very well said. Thank you,
God
Mr.
bless
Sullivan.
you, and
I
thanks
appreciate
for
your
letting
words.
me speak.
You're
Great
welcome.
night.
Olga?
Now he was going to pick
Who's
up
going
his
to pick
pen.
up the pen?
Good evening, Olga Hanu, 26 Meadows Lane. Regarding the traffic, Mayor, we are very concerned. And since we are not experts and we don't have a great deal of knowledge, some of the residents, at your suggestion in one of the meetings, to hire and pay out of our own pockets an engineer, we actually engaged the services of an engineer. He sat down, not at the last meeting, but at the prior meeting, when was the first testimony of the traffic engineer, but it's very costly. It's about $1,100 or $1,200 for the 3 hours that he have to sit and listen, the traffic engineer. We wanted to know at what point during this process can the residents introduce our traffic expert or traffic engineer that is being hired and paid for that particular time by one resident that is very concerned about the traffic impact that's going to be in the community. And my question is at what point, when can we bring our expert?
Okay.
Marty, you can.
First of all, I mean, it's a question really for the planning board, but typically, think about it, you've watched enough trials on television, right? Watch court cases or
No,
whatever.
really.
Not really? Okay. What happens is one side goes, in this case it's the applicant, they present all of their witnesses. They present, in this case it would be a planner, an engineer, a traffic expert, maybe somebody from the various entities that are going to be there. They all testify. The people who are in the audience or any other attorneys that are there and the members of the board, the professionals, have the opportunity to ask those people questions when they testify. When their case is finished, then the objectors or the people who are there from the neighborhood have the right to testify. But in addition, they have the right to bring a witness and have their witness testify. So when the applicant's case is over and they say, okay, we have no more witnesses, then the objectors can come in, present their testimony, and in addition, present any experts they want to present.
Okay. Now, you say at the end, all of the experts that the applicant had already brought to the table, they are gone because they only bring them and they have a certain days of testimony and then they quickly try to wrap up their testimony and they no longer present.
Right.
And we are not going to be able to ask questions. Specifically, some of the traffic counts that they present, they are, I'm not saying misleading, but they are not complete.
Okay.
Some
The testimony from their experts, the opportunity to question or challenge that testimony is when they testify. So whether it's through your expert or through an attorney or through members of the public, if you have questions about the accuracy of the information or you feel that this is misleading, the time to do that is when they're on the witness stand. Now, at the end of their case, not the end of the application, it's the end of their case, then the other side goes, which in this case would be your side. You produce your expert. Their attorney is going to have the opportunity to cross-examine your expert, just like you were able to ask questions of their expert. In addition, if after your expert testifies, the applicant says, well, I want to produce my expert again to rebut some of the things that were said, they can reintroduce testimony. After that, technically that can go on. You could bring your expert back to rebut what he said. So, there's a two-sided process. Your side goes in terms of producing testimony when their side is completed. However, you have the right to cross-examine all the witnesses while they're testifying.
Okay, so next time we have the traffic expert that I believe is going to continue with his testimony.
Mm-hmm.
we are going to have the same opportunity as the applicant to have plenty of time to present to the public on the board or this how the applicant is presenting the accuracy of the traffic count and everything that the applicant have presented from our point of view, from our expert point of view.
Well, again, I'm not the attorney for the planning board. That's why these questions, should be directed to the planning board. But typically, and I'm not saying, I don't know if there's going to be an unlimited time, but if you have an expert that's up there to testify, usually they're not cutting off an expert witness. So if you have people giving statements and they become repetitive and they're all saying the same thing, they can cut that off. But if you have an expert testifying as to why these traffic counts are wrong or why this opinion is incorrect, typically he's going to be allowed to complete his testimony, and then the applicant's attorney will be allowed to cross-examine that witness.
Yeah. You haven't been present during the hearings, but it's been very noticeable that when the public is trying to question the expert and the applicant were very quickly shut off by the applicant's attorney. She has the expertise, we don't have it. We are concerned. We're trying to bring to the planning board certain issues, make them aware, of our concerns. And we have facts that we had been gathering through the testimony, and we've been engaging experts, and not necessarily that they've been paid, but we've been talking to them, meeting with them to explain to us the traffic counts, the charts that they're presenting, the testimony that they are presenting, and we are not comfortable with their testimony, with their way that they presenting to the public, with the way that they presenting to the board. There is incomplete, is not 100% accurate. They only present the way that they want the board to see it, but the total number of, especially the traffic count and the impact, is not necessarily complete. It's not.
Okay, but what I keep telling you is that you have the ability to have an expert come in. Let's assume for the moment that they came in and said, here's the traffic count. When did you do the traffic count?
Yeah, it's 2016.
Let me just finish. If we get, regardless of the day. They did it December 8th and February 15th. And now you have an expert who comes in and says, well, that's crazy. The traffic is going to be much greater in the summer. And here's the traffic counts I did. And I did them on June 28th and August 10th. Which is more when the problem is going to occur and traffic issues are going to occur. So if you have an expert, you can produce him. The reason that the attorney is, and I don't know, I haven't been there, but the attorney's been objecting, and then you don't get to say what you want to say, is because just the reason you said it. You're trying to give facts. You're trying to say, well, that's not true, this is true. That's not the time to do that. That's when you give testimony. What you're doing at this point when their expert is testifying or their fact witness is testifying is asking questions. It's a problem that occurs all the time. I was the planning board attorney in Ocean for 14 years, and I was the planning board attorney in Long Branch for many years. And what oftentimes happens is when objectors come up, they start saying, well, let me tell you a little bit about, what the problem is here. That's not the time to do it. We'll let you give your testimony afterwards when it's your case. Right now it's their case. You're supposed to be asking questions, not giving testimony. Correct. And I know that may be difficult to understand.
No, I understand.
How many are there that are objecting? How many people are we talking about? 5, 10, 150, what?
Objecting from the public?
Yeah, the public. How many people are there?
Probably about I was not present at the last meeting, but the meeting before were about 30 people. Okay. But that doesn't mean that only 30 people in all Ocean Township are objecting. There is groups of people that they could not attend for many reasons. We leave our families and our obligations to come here. The mayor had asked us to cheap money to pay out of our own pocket for an expert. And we feel like in addition to Mr. Fitzgerald and everybody, it should be somebody else that can take a look at this project in an objective way. I know that I believe it's Mr. Fitzgerald and the applicant's attorney, they had a very good relation, through the years that they had developed, I believe. But I believe it's also a friendship as well.
But Olga, I'm just going to say, I'm going to let you continue. Don't let that fool you. Mr. Fitzgerald's very demanding person, and it has to be right. Of course, he has friendships or professional friendships like realtors do.
Correct.
But you're negotiating for your side, just like realtors do.
Correct.
And I'll tell you this, Mr. Fitzgerald is there on behalf of the town. And he is, although not a traffic expert, I think he's an expert in traffic. There's so many years he's been listening to testimony and working on plans. That being said, he meets with their engineer before meetings to go over issues that he thinks that now the way you present it's not going to work. Here's what I'd like to see you present it this way. And so oftentimes that happens before it even gets back to the meeting. They'll say, listen, your traffic counts don't jive. They don't add up. Come up with something else. He does that on our behalf right now. We only recommend that if you're not satisfied with Mr. Fitzgerald representing the public, then I didn't say you should do it, but then you can do that. You can hire your expert. But I think what Mr. Orbis is saying, have your traffic expert there when they're doing a traffic testimony. And then he can, at the end, when they're done presenting, when they say, we're done presenting our traffic testimony, then that's the time for him to get up and say, here's my 2 cents. And then, of course, they'll listen to him. He's an expert.
I'm not saying in any way that Mr. Fitzgerald is not representing the interests of the town.
Okay.
Like you said, he's not a traffic expert.
But
he probably has a lot of knowledge.
A lot of
We will like to have a traffic expert to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I see the last report that he did, I think, was January 9 of 2019, and the 16-page traffic of his letter of opinion to the applicants all about the project. On page 6, he's talking about the 170 parking spots that they don't meet the ordinance, that they are 9 by 18 rather than 10 by 18. Why don't request to the applicant rather than say you having 170 parking spots over and above the ordinance to meet the requirements of a regular parking spots, so that whoever parks there, their cars, they don't get damaged. The developer wants to put as many traffic spots as possible, but the residents or the people that is going to, go to these places, they are the ones that they are going to suffer the consequence. Right. So those 2 points, especially the traffic, is a very
I like the wider
important concern for the town. And since the board has not only the responsibility, but also they are accountable, for whatever decisions, this is very a matter that not only the 30 people that we show up at the meetings are concerned.
No,
it's
and
a concern
I agree
of
with
a lot
what you
of
said,
the neighbors.
that there's more than 30 people concerned about this.
Yeah, but
I know that
the
firsthand.
the point I was trying to make is, just like you've hired an expert, if you feel like you're not asking questions right, if you feel like there's an issue there, you also have the ability, if you want to, and again it costs money, to hire a lawyer. So a lawyer can ask questions for the people who represent the objectors. So either way, you can do that. That's what happens. I mean, I've been in cases where I've represented objectors, so that can happen.
And I hear what you're saying about the attorney kind of doing what she's doing, but you also can appeal to the chairperson. So if you're not satisfied,
well, the chairperson, actually, we haven't have the sympathy or whatever you want to call of the chairperson, because last time that I wanted to speak, he was treating me like I'm from outside the town and not giving us the right to speak and have the time that we need to be able to make our point, about the issues. And because for the expert and the attorney is very easy. They've been doing this, they do this for a living. This is like our first or second time that we are encountering this voluminous material that we're trying to read and understand in addition to our jobs and our family's obligations. So afterwards on the weekends, we had to try to cover the charts and everything. So he has to give us an opportunity, and treat us in a way that, from the point of view that we are lay persons, just concerned residents, and we are not here to, give hard time to the developer or anything, but it's just to understand from the residents' point of view, and also to put in our shoes the ones that we are on Deal Road and the traffic. We have children, we have teenagers that drive, we have see accidents happen all the time. So we need him to understand where we're coming from.
Right. Understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Thanks, Olga. Jackie Mason?
I'm sorry. I'm all worked up now. The traffic expert. I know I asked that the last time. Why aren't we hiring one that represents the people? Because Olga brings up a very good point. She brings up a lot of good points. And a neighbor had paid for the traffic expert to come to one of the meetings. My husband and I paid for the traffic expert to come to another one of the meetings. And why do we have to keep paying? We're paying because we care. We're paying because it seems dangerous. And I'd like to know, would you pay? If the town won't pay, will Donna pay for him to come one night? Will you pay for him to come one night? Mr. Long, will you pay for him to come one night? Because he's $1,100 every time he comes. And we're doing it for the safety of this town. And we have to pay for ourselves. We're already paying taxes here in this town.
Jackie,
you just said, why doesn't, Mr. Arbus, you just said, why don't we hire an attorney? Why don't you represent us?
We have an attorney.
Who represents us?
We have an attorney
because
for
if
you.
I represented you, I might not listen to you. I might not agree with you. When you're hiring an attorney to represent you as objectors, and when you're hiring an expert to represent you as an objector, you're hiring somebody who is going to give an opinion or going to be or going to ask questions so that he can help you win your case. I'm not there to help you win your case.
But why don't you care about our safety? Why don't you? Why do you care more about the developer's project and representing them correctly and not our safety?
No. What I care about is the process. And what I care about is making sure that it's fair. It's fair for you to hire an attorney just like the applicant has hired an attorney.
No, we've done that. We've done that. But I'm going broke here trying to protect this town.
Why shouldn't I represent the applicant then? Why shouldn't I represent? Because I don't represent the applicant. You don't represent the community. You represent people in the community who object to this application. I got to tell you, I know a lot of people who want this thing to be approved. There's plenty of people who want that. So you keep saying
they're not showing up at the meetings.
Well, of course they're not showing up to the meetings. No one who's ever approving something shows up at the meetings. It's only the people who object typically who show up. But the bottom line is there are a lot of people. I keep asking, when is this going to be built? I want this to be built.
Is that when you go and have, I know there are private meetings that are held sometimes.
I don't have any private meetings. Believe it or not, I know it's going to be hard to believe, but I have friends. And friends talk to me, and a lot of them say, well, why isn't this getting built? What are we going to lose?
Why don't they come to the meetings?
Because they don't want to come to the meetings.
Why? They don't care.
Objectors come to the meetings, not people who are supporting.
Not objectors. You're making us sound like a terrible group. We're not objectors. We're concerned citizens.
I'm not making you sound like a terrible group. The bottom line is the typical word used in all these cases, whether you think it's right or wrong, is that the people who are opposed to an application, which is typically what you are called objectors. And when you mark a documented evidence, it usually says 01, which means objector 1. So that's just the way, the term. You may not like the term, but that's what you use. But the bottom line is there are plenty of people in this town who want to see this done, want to see their taxes remain more stable. And there are plenty of people in town who don't want to see it built. I get that. But my job is not to represent you. Your job is, if you want to get an attorney, to get an attorney and get an expert and pool your money together and hire him. It's not for me to come in and represent you because you have a certain position because you live across the street. Okay?
We elect the people that represent us,
Jackie.
and you sit up here, right?
Let me just say this,
What?
and then you can continue. That was nice what he just said, but even though he said that, doesn't mean we don't care. We're not representing you. We are representing you. And at the meeting, we have representation for you. Now, you may not like what you're hearing they're saying, and so then you want to hire your own experts. In other words,
For safety reasons.
yes, we're all concerned about your safety. I assure you that. I promise you
But why are you making us pay for
We're
it?
not making you pay for it. We
Well, you're
hired
not paying
somebody.
for it.
We hired somebody there to represent you. You're not liking their expertise. Mr. Fitzgerald's our engineer. We pay him to be there. We pay Mr. Higgins, and the attorney is there for you.
But like
also.
Olga said, he's very friendly with everyone. I think
Because he's a
their attorney,
professional. It's
Mrs.
not
Krimko,
it's not going to be adversarial every time they go there, of course, but it doesn't mean he's not going to do battle. Listen, when I was on the planning board, I saw Mr. Falvo go 0 for 4 one night, and he was friends with everybody. I played golf with him the day before. It really happened.
but they all approved. They all approved this development going forward. They all approved 2303. I know I'm not allowed to talk about that because there's a lawsuit, and that's convenient for you to shut me down all the time.
I
But
don't want you to misunderstand or mislead folks in the public. We do hire people on your behalf. Now you're asking us to go beyond. We don't like what this guy says.
No.
Get another expert.
well, because you haven't been at the meetings, but I promise you,
I
that-
watch them on
because
videotape all
Mr.
the time.
Fitzgerald and Mr. Higgins felt the Paramount plan was substantially consistent with the master plan, they're all okay. They're pretty relaxed about it.
Okay.
We, the citizens of the township, are very concerned about it, and we would like people that would represent our interests, our concerns, and the
That's
safety.
why you hire somebody. That's why you hire somebody.
I know, but we
to
can't
represent
afford-
you because you're not the only citizen
Marty,
in
don't
the township.
yell at my constituents, please. She's a nice lady. She said something nice about me.
We are
earlier.
paying for it,
I want to protect.
and it's costing us a lot of money, and we don't have the deep pockets that our developer has. And we don't have like other developments that we've made lots of money on, that we've built in Lakewood and all these other places. This is our small town. We like this small town. We want to protect our lifestyles here. We want to protect our children here. Because I'm running, I've gotten much more involved in everybody's little issues, and there are issues other than the water. Traffic,
out.
like I said earlier, is a big concern. It's safety. There are young drivers, something that Olga had brought up before. There are a lot of young student drivers. Trying to navigate around this space is not going to be the easy thing. And I don't want to be here saying, I told you so, when there's a lot of disasters happening up there with car crashes, and we go, hey, now do you care? Now will you hire an attorney for us? If you can't represent us, I think the township should have some representation that hears what the people are saying. We're afraid, and we don't want to be afraid. We're afraid of flooding. We're afraid of traffic. I have mothers that are afraid that there's, at what came up earlier about crime and about prostitution, that says these extended stay hotels become like quick little offices for drug dealers and for prostitution. So there's a lot of things people don't want with this development. And what had happened here with like the passing of the ordinance that we're not allowed to speak about, it gave the green light for this project to go through very easily without any variances. So we now are working step by step, trying to do the right thing, having a traffic expert represent us. But because we can't really have them come until the testimony is done, we never know exactly when he's going to finish. So it's like a juggling. It's like, all right, is he going to finish tonight? All right, do we write a check for another $1,100? I mean, it's a lot, and we pay taxes. And I think the last time with Stop and Shop, Mayor Larkin hired a traffic expert that I guess the town paid for. I guess our taxpayers' dollars, our tax dollars paid for. My tax dollars pay you, don't they, Mr. Arbus? We're paying for you.
I'll say this,
and you're
Jack.
not representing us.
No. The Stop and Shop, what was uniquely different about that was we, the town, were actively objecting to it as well. That's why. And then the lawsuit ensued. So before the lawsuit, we did do that. I was on council then and did hire a traffic expert. And then the lawsuit came, so now that would be obstructing again, and that would be considered, I'm sure Marty will tell you, that would be in violation of the court order to let them proceed. So
I can also tell you...
And you know where we stand. Listen, nobody up here, not even Rob, we're all concerned about safety and traffic and flood. We all are. We live here too. We don't just sit up here and say, oh, let the developer do what he wants. That's not the case.
So am I allowed to write off of my taxes all the money we've had to personally put in to manage a town?
Probably.
I don't
No,
know the answer.
probably
to that.
not.
I'm just
Probably
gonna,
not. I
I'm
said
gonna make
not.
one comment though.
You
The,
let me
the
finish.
fact that you're hiring an engineer, great.
A
But
traffic engineer.
Traffic engineer. I would respectfully ask you to ask the chairperson so that you don't have to pay the $1,100, that you coordinate with him. The fact that, I mean, you certainly want that engineer to listen to the other engineer's testimony, but you made you made the comment that you were having him there so that when the Langen engineer was done, yours would start. I would respectfully ask the chairperson to say, look, I don't want to hire this person every time because I don't know when he's going to be done, and coordinate when you're going to have your testimony. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Well, I mean, sometimes the board will take, if you have an expert there, you know, I don't know where they are in their testimony, but sometimes whether it's a court or a board may take an expert at a turn. So you can certainly ask that and say, you know, we would like to have this expert testify right after your traffic expert. If the applicant's attorney objects, you know, somebody will make a determination. But you can certainly make that request.
Well, I asked a question and nobody's answered me. Like, would the council members support us and start writing checks and helping us represent ourselves?
I think it'd be in violation of the lawsuit. I would gladly
Of what
help
lawsuit?
you. The one that's pending right now.
Our lawsuit?
No, the one that's pending against us because in 2005 I stood out there and
Township,
the Stop and Shop, remember?
Right, but
I
yes,
showed you the
I
picture.
know that, but the Stop and
one
Shop
of
deal
these.
has nothing to do with this one. This is a different situation. It's not the same.
Can I ask you a question, Jackie? The township.
No.
Okay, hold it.
No,
Forget that.
why didn't we just? Okay, excuse me, Donna. It's nice to hear your voice. The reason we're being sued is because we haven't done anything all these years. What we should have done is gotten the green acres, which we've been able to find now. In the last couple of years, we've had a number of people come up with ideas of green acres. Why didn't we buy that back years ago? I mean, when I was approached by Bob Adis to join the Concerned Citizens of Ocean Township back in 2001, 2002, and it was stopped, we all kind of rested on our laurels, as they say, and we thought, oh, good, let the dead dog lie. But there's been a lot of time that passed. We could have protected that with Green Acres funding over the years, a little bit more, and ease the burden off of Stop and Shop. But we didn't. Does anybody know the answer to that? Why we didn't? Do you know, Donna? Why didn't we?
I wasn't involved in the Stop and Shop. I had a conflict and I wasn't involved in it. I didn't hear any of the testimony. I didn't vote on anything. I didn't even sit up here with anybody talking.
What was your conflict?
My husband used to work with Stop and Shop. He sells food and he used to work with them. And so I was off. I didn't have anything to do with it. But we are still being sued.
Yes, but why didn't we get Green Acres and buy some of that land back year after year?
Here's why. I put a referendum out in 2005. I think I told you that.
No, we knew that, and that didn't
and it was
pass
shot
then.
down. So, again...
Why didn't we do it every year? Take it out, or every election?
We did a referendum again now about an open space trust fund. It wasn't specifically about any amount or anything. It was about an amount of 1 cent. In order to purchase that property, I would do it again. I have till August to put a referendum in for a November ballot. You can do a referendum, but explain to the people. They have to know that this could be upwards of 20 million and what the impact would be. The problem with that is, even though they would want to do that, is our financial officer left, is our bonding capacity. Can we bear the brunt of that? Carrying a bond like that while we're waiting to see if we qualify for Green Acre funding. And I mentioned to you that just because it's available doesn't mean you're always going to get it. So we can indebt ourselves and next year not get the green end because they don't give you a big chunk like that. You get enough to carry some bond in here and there.
But we have a unique property.
You sent me articles of, look at this place got saved. Excuse me, I got something there. All these different farms, but those people were willing to save the farms themselves. The people that owned it were saving land themselves all the time. So these people are not willing to do that. It would be a hostile situation, which is okay.
Well, that's not what I was told from Mr. Casting. He said many people that purchase Green Acres and bring that come to them for money, and he really said he was going to help you. He believed very strongly, and that's what he's been doing for a long time, that we would be able to protect that land. Now it's a lot to do with a little bit of time, but my question to you really was, in all the time that had passed since the Stop and Shop lawsuit, why didn't the council apply every year after, put the referendum up again for Green Acres. I know it didn't pass the first time, but we had many years had passed in between that we had opportunities, I'm sure, to do it again. Just like you did recently,
We
and
did
it passed.
approved, and now we're putting it, we're putting it into place. I mean, it's there.
That's not how Green Acres works. You don't sit there and say, every year for the next 15 years, we're going to make an application, and when we collect all the money, then we're going to buy this property. That's just not how it works. It goes for a specific project. Green Acres, in part, gave money to the town to buy the section that we purchased with the understanding that the balance of the property was going to be developed. So they were part of that. That's number one. Number two, when we had the previous hearing as to Stop and Shop, I was the planning board attorney. I sat on the stage next to the traffic expert that was hired by the town.
Right.
That traffic expert's testimony was consistent at that time with the applicant's testimony, and basically was that with the traffic improvements that they were making, which are similar to the traffic improvements proposed now, don't tell me no, I sat next to him. The traffic improvement, and other traffic experts may disagree with that. I'm not saying that's...
I mean, we're not having traffic improvements now with today's case.
I don't know what the change is, but with the traffic improvements they were making, which at that time was the jug handle and the slip road, the traffic would be slightly improved over the existing traffic, even without that, what that at that time was a huge shopping center. So they were saying with that big shopping center, putting these traffic improvements in would improve traffic slightly. Still not be great, but that's what the expert for the town said. Okay? It was consistent with the expert that was hired by Mr. Pringle, who represented Stop and Shop.
But you're talking about Stop and Shop.
Yeah,
Okay.
and this...
What does
this
that relate to?
development-
I'm sorry, I'm just not sure what it's relating to what we're saying right now.
Well, because if anything, this project is going to produce less traffic than what the Stop and Shop shopping center, where the entire site was being developed commercially, was going to produce.
I disagree with you because there's
Well,
70,
you can disagree with
there's
me
70 townhouses. But what I'm saying, that's still not the answer to my question. The answer to my question, what I was asking was, why didn't we protect that land before Paramount ever had an opportunity to put a bid on it? Why didn't we, over the 15 years, purchase with Green Acres a bid at a time? Because it's available.
They weren't gonna purchase a bid at the time.
Then maybe they would.
They already financed a good portion of the property that we purchased with partially money from Green Acres. And the balance, the understanding was the balance of that property was, we've gone over this over and again. The property was going to be developed. And now we got to the point where the property was going to be developed by Stop and Shop. The council pulled the zoning, which today they couldn't do. Back then, they were allowed to do it. Today, you couldn't change the zoning once the application was made. Okay? That law changed because they felt it was unfair to developers to do that. But the bottom line is,
Well, they should have never, that, of course.
and then
we agree.
everybody cheered and everybody was happy when they changed the zoning to allow the entire site to remain commercial. The whole site would have been commercial, and you would have had all the units, one unit 30,000 square feet, one unit or two 20,000.
Who was cheering?
And the balance, the whole town
when
that
it
you
when it
represent.
canceled, when we changed it.
Well, we changed the zoning, but it still was 100% commercial. The entire site was going to be developed commercial, and the only difference was they couldn't put Stop and Shop in because they couldn't put a unit in over 30,000 square feet.
I understand that, but when that development was arrested, we could have, just like we can now, we could have. Right now, we had an opportunity to fill out an application. The people that do that type of work agree because it's a continuation of green space and an expansion of Joe Playa Park.
$14 million.
We could have done that. No, but it wouldn't have come from one, not just Monmouth Conservation. It would have been collective Green Acres. There's many different sources. And for the people that do this every day, I don't do this every day. I have a different profession, just like you all up there do. I get information because I keep seeking the information, and there's more than one source to go for. So now it's a lot to try and do in a short amount of time because we're racing against Grimco and how quickly she's going to move this through the planning board. But I just was wondering why we didn't do it sooner.
Because they were still under contract. We'd have to do the same process, whether it's today or 12 years ago. You'd still have to do the act of condemnation.
Right, like
which
we
I
could
mentioned
do
to you.
now. I know.
You can still do.
We should
They can
do
get
it.
an approval next Thursday, and a month later we can condemn it. Do you know that?
Yeah, but you won't probably.
But you could. Hey, listen, I do a
well, we
referendum,
could get
people
open
say,
space. I mean, however you want to
we're going to
do
get
it.
open space out. I promise you that. I guarantee it. We're going to get a piece of that.
Well, right now it looks
guarantee-
dangerous for traffic. There's a lot of things. I think you can all talk about it after the meeting. I think that you're some financial assistance, so we have experts. I don't think that Fitzgerald and Mr. Higgins are active like the traffic expert. You know, like the traffic expert we had. They're up on everything that's happening right
It's
now.
what they do daily. I get it. I
Right,
understand.
and you know the other guys, they've been here for a long time. They're good. They're great. Their grandfathered in. But I'm saying, you know, some fresh perspective maybe.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thanks, Jackie. What do you got, Olga?
Mr. Arbus, I know Mrs. Arbus. She's very dear to me. She was a teacher to
She's
both
very
of
dear
my
to me as well.
children.
Really?
Yes.
So you like her better than me, I'm guessing.
Excuse me?
I said you like her much better than you like me.
Definitely. Well,
Mr.
anyway,
Honor.
for your friends that they keep asking you when this is going to be built, just if you can tell them and reply, know that there is a group of concerned citizens that there are to think about in the 3,500 trees that they are going to be cut for this development, to the Poplar Brook, the serious impact on the Poplar Brook and the flooding that's going to occur, the traffic nightmare that's going to occur with this development, the buffer that's going to be gone for the noise, the 24/7 facility that's going to be this Wawa gas station. Ocean Township doesn't have a 24/7 commercial use right now. None of the gas stations work 24/7. Originally, Wegmans started opening when they first opened around the clock. Then after few months, they realized that Ocean Township, after 10 o'clock, everybody's in their homes, basically. We are not a town like up north. And they close at 12 midnight. And also the exterior obsolescence, you as an attorney, I don't have to tell you what it is, an exterior obsolescence that a gas station is gonna cost to all of the neighboring properties and the price or the lower price under. So Ocean Township is known as the community of gracious living. After this project, if it gets approved, it's not going to be a community of gracious living. So hopefully your friends, if they give it a thought to any of these issues, they will never ask you when this is going to be built. They are going to tell you, I hope this never gets approved.
Great. Thank you. That was me.
I think it was Johnny on the phone.
I was clapping. It was very nice. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for coming. Anybody else before we close?
Motion quick.
All right. Well, make a motion to close.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Long?
Yes.
Councilmember Achara?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Sheffield?
You were there?
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Good comments. We'll see you next time.